Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. War is what no country wishes for. War destroys communities and families and often disrupts the development of the social and economic fabric of nations. The effects of war include long term physical and psychological harm to children and adults, as well as reduction in material and human capital. Its consequences extend far beyond deaths in battle. Armed conflict often leads to forced migration, long term refugee problems, and the destruction of infrastructure. These indeed are very relatable scenarios in the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. While the Yaoundé junta blindfolds the international community that normalcy has returned in war-torn Ambazonia, the peoples of Ambazonia continue to migrate in perilous conditions in an attempt to flee the war-torn Ambazonia. Well, the ambassador of the United States of America to La Republic, John Lamora, has visited communities hosting Amazonian war victims taking refuge in the neighboring La Republic's West region. Let's get into the full briefings of Undaunted tonight to see what went down after his visit in La Republic's West region. Before that, the full briefings will get the prime headlines of tonight.
Right here are the prime headlines for today. Bamenda Central Prison inmate allegedly poisons others. All right, also today we'll be revisiting the genocide in Amazonia. We're going to be looking at the Mpundu Balong and the Norse genocide. Also today, 8 financial sectors to be affected if BRICS launches new currency. And most importantly, President Sako meets with board and chairs of ABC Amber TV. And in sports, Steven Gerrard appointed manager of Saudi Arabian club. Now let's get the news in detail.
Our vision in this interim government is to make ABC a leader and a real war horse of our struggle. We want to grow it, expand it, hire and train more hands, and broadcast round the clock, around the world, and take command of the media space of this world.
You can enjoy all round the clock, 24/7 exclusive moments of bliss as an ABC Amber TV Club member. A cappella. Latest Nigerian stroke African movies, global politics, ABC Amber News and updates, historical documentaries, and lots more. In our daily programs, we have Undaunted, ABC Amber News, bringing into the news untold stories with Onyi Okpala and Star Smart. Exclusive discussion, revolutionary panel conversation, infotainment, edutainment, intro governmental debates on topical issues with Tar Paddy King, State of the Liberation Movement, Fronting IG and People of Ambazonia's Position, the Struggles Weekly Update with Secretary Martin Mungwa, PhD, FASC. Health is wealth. Health education and awareness within the Amazonian community with Dr. Yaya. Liberation prayer and intercessory ministry for Amazonia with Pastor Victor Mba. Our freedom, spiritual awareness and education for the Amazonian community with Pastor Victor Mba and Pastor Commando. Church and politics, neutralizing the myths and preconceived religious and political philosophies that limit the Christian involvement in the realms of decent politics with Pastor Commando. The Horizon, the voice of the Amazonian woman with Dr. Patience Abiedo and Lady Casey. Our Amber history, bringing to limelight the hidden history of Amazonia to the world with Pastor Commando. Appointment on community building, education on patriotism within the Amazonian communities with Ma Rachel Itatima. Ethics for an Imagined Nation, watchdog of basic principles and morals of a nation at war with Ma Dorothy Ngwa. Upcoming programs: Pigeon News, Vernacular Talk Show, County Roots, Activists Corner, Amba Focus, only on ABC Amba Television. We the people, the voice of the voiceless. For 24/7 access, subscribe as a club member on www.abcambatv.com/subscribe. The piece of cloth made in Amazonia, a land brimming with history, courage, and the indomitable spirit of its people, a profound reflection of Amazonia's collective identity and our unyielding struggle for freedom.
A full representation of who we are, what we are, the history, story, and the struggle. It's a piece of cloth you should have in your closet. It is woven into a rich tapestry of cultural heritage, traditions, and long-standing desire for self-determination. Proudly adorned with unique patterns and symbolizes unity in the Amazonian people.
The cloth's patterns and colors mirror the courage and hope that fueled their aspirations for a brighter future. Each thread represented a story of bravery, sacrifice, and the unwavering commitment to justice.
The piece of cloth made in Amazonia became more than just a garment. It transformed into a symbol of a call for recognition, worn proudly by Amazonians and their allies worldwide. It carried a message: we exist and we deserve to be heard. As long as the cloth adorns chests and shoulders, the spirit of Amazonia lives on, and the hope for a free and united land remains alive.
Well, Undaunted reported a week ago that some inmates of the Bamenda Central Prison died of food poisoning. Investigations has revealed that they died after eating food mixed with insecticides. While you would agree with us that evil is found everywhere, though not all within the prison walls are criminals, it is a place that calls for reflection and above have a different consideration about life. The emptiness of life should be better appreciated in prison. Now, when news of negative connotations comes from the prison and is perpetrated by prisoners, well, this only goes to attest to the fact that old habits never die. How can a prisoner who has no control over his life take the lives of others in detention? Is it really the prisoners that are poisoning other prisoners? Well, while you ponder on those words, this is where we begin tonight. How are you doing, Esther?
Very well, Oni. Recently, this news reported the death of four inmates at the Bamenda Central Prison. It is reported that after visitors visited the prison with food, water, fufu, and eru about a week ago, the food was taken into the prison where an inmate introduced a poisonous substance into the food. Four inmates have been confirmed dead, while others are still under intensive care at the hospital after consuming the poisoned food. The poisonous substance believed to be the cause of their demise is reported to have been discovered under the bed of one of the prisoners. After examination at the Bamenda Regional Hospital, it was dictated as an insecticide.
Well, the prison inmate accused of the act has been interrogated, though back in prison, further investigations have been opened. Well, as gathered by Undaunted, the four are to be buried this week. But then we ask, how are we sure that it was a fellow prisoner who wanted to poison other prisoners? How did he get the insecticide to start with?
Still on the Amazonian War, Undaunted has gathered that the ambassador of the United States of America to La Republic to Cameroon, John Lamora, has visited communities hosting Amazonian War victims taking refuge in the neighboring La Republic's West region. Ambassador John Lamora is said to have been accompanied by local and administrative colonial La Republic authorities. Ambassador Lamora Monday, July 3rd, yesterday, met and encouraged the Amazonian war victims fleeing the genocide conflict ravaging across Amazonia, living in the neighboring La Republic de Cameroon towns of Deshang and Bafang.
Report says during this trip to the West region, Ambassador Lamour met with groups of Amazonian war victims in Dichang and Bafang, during which several individuals shared their stories, their worries, anxieties, experiences, challenges, and hopes for the end of the war so that they can return to homeland. While the U.S. diplomat also thanked the host communities and emphasized that the U.S. assemblies is going to support the refugees. While it should be recorded that the U.S. government is one of the key partners in the advocacy for a peaceful resolution of the more than 7 years armed conflict in the southern Cameroon's Amazonia that has claimed over 50,000 lives, caused huge material damage, and forced over 1 million out as refugees.
The war in Amazonia breeds genocides in Amazonia. Umpundu Balong, 25 of January 2019, another sad day for British Southern Cameroon, where about 10 innocent teens were massacred by the French Cameroon appointed governor of the southern zone of British Cameroon, Okalia Belai. The young men were at their regular pastime sport soccer when life was squeezed out of them in the most inhumane way. Empty skulls of humans' heads were visible, showing the ferocious nature of the massacre. Due to the quickness of the massacre, no cooked up Dane gun was used. Government sponsored media, as usual, called the innocent youths terrorists. Inhabitants tell a story of continuous annihilation of any British Southern Cameroon's youth. Let's see this video.
One guy una get with this una stand. Let's see. Ah, man, no. No. I think you find it. Wait. Right. Well, how we go leave it in there? Make sure. Not everything make that kind of stuff. We can't hold them now.
It happened today, 25th of January. Bondo Balong.
Right? Highly sad. But those 10 youths were not the only one or the only ones that has been killed. Of course, you know so many of them. But also assassination of health personnel has also been on for a long while. Ngamsha Gilbert was a nurse from Oko who bikes the 25-kilometer journey daily to Kumbo for work. Well, that particular journey ended on the 29th of July 2019 when Lily Afrique's militias shot him point blank. His fresh, clean, and lifeless body was not enough for the militias. A bomb was laced in his body as the soldiers covered their ears for an explosion that shattered Gilbert's body into chunks. Fomoyu Ornelli, a pregnant 19-year-old nurse from Kumbo, was also part of the statistics of killed health personnel. Her journey on the 18th of January 2019 ended. Gruesome killing and that of her unborn baby failed to deter the governor and his soldiers from killing her.
Well, prior to Umbu Priscilla and her colleagues' massacre at the Imbingo Baptist Hospital on April 1st, same 2019, she and her colleagues were in emergency mode 2 weeks prior, assisting the same French Cameroon Hutu militias said to have been attacked by the ragtag Ambazonia guerrilla operating in the municipality. Unfortunately, she didn't know that her life would be snuffed out of her by those who they worked for professionally to save. Priscilla and three of her colleagues were mangled by Leila Lafrique's marauding militias who attacked the hospital under his instructions. African countries over decades have had its elections fraught with corruption, democratic for some so called democratic countries. And one glaring example of such African countries we don't need to mention, as that would be stating the obvious. But although Nigeria has been said to be the giant of Africa and Africa's superpower, because of this, when it had its presidential elections in February and even the gubernatorial elections in March, the world had its eyes on it. While the European Election Observation Mission, the EU-EOM, to Nigeria a week ago published its final report on the federal and state elections of 25th February and 18th March. The chief observer, Barry Andrews, member of the European Parliament, stated in the lead up to the 2023 general elections, Nigerian citizens demonstrated a clear commitment to the democratic process. That said, the election exposed enduring systematic weaknesses and therefore signal a need for further legal and operational reforms to enhance transparency, inclusiveness, and accountability.
Well, following a 3 months long observation across Nigeria and in accordance with its usual practice, the EU-EUM was pleased to present its findings and recommendations. Shortcomings in law and electoral administration hindered the conduct of well-run and inclusive elections and damaged trust in Nigeria's INEC. With the aim of contributing to the improvement of future elections, the EU-EUM is offering 23 recommendations for consideration by the Nigerian authorities and the need for reform in 6 areas which the EU-EUM identified as priority recommendations and believe, if implemented, would contribute to improvements for the conduct of elections. Now let's get the video of the EU report, which we got from RIS TV.
hear a thing. We can't hear a thing. Where's your sound?
So while the 25th February elections were held on, a lack of transparency and operational failures reduced trust in the process and challenged the right to vote. Voters assigned to new polling units had difficulties in identifying their correct polling unit, and the conditions in almost half of polling units observed did not ensure the secrecy of the vote. In 16 states, the mission noted incidents of violent attacks on polling units and indeed on INEC staff and harassment of voters. The counting procedures were negatively impacted by overall poor understanding, particularly in completing forms, and chaotic and overcrowded conditions in collation centres observed.
Oh, well, after the European Union Election Observation Mission, the EU EOM, published its final reports on the Nigerian presidential and gubernatorial elections last week, the federal government of Nigeria says it rejects the EU's 2023 elections observation report on Nigeria, saying the report is biased, flawed, born out of inadequate coverage that is after 3 months. Well, let's get this reaction of El Rufai to the EU's reports on the elections.
I saw the response of the presidential spokesperson and I laughed. Humor, pure humor. You rebuff a report, but you don't have empirical analysis to point out the holes in the report. And you didn't rebuff it. You said it was a badly done job. No, the EU report was a well done job. Kudos to the EU for empirically analyzing what happened in the elections and putting the report out there. A lot of Nigerians want to forget the trauma of the last elections. An election that promised so much but delivered so little. Is it the same elections that people were divided in Lagos? That town criers were coming out to tell people not to come vote? Is that same elections where people were beaten, blue, black, were hurt, and there was rancor everywhere? That our journalists, Okpe, where are you? Okpe was beaten and punched in the face for going to cover an election? Is this same election somebody is trying to defend? This same election that we saw what happened in Obiakpo, we became a butt of jokes by the international community. This same election that on the 1st of March, Financial Times wrote Nigeria's flawed elections. Elections that people didn't want to come. And these same elections that INEC has not been able to tell us what kind of technical glitch happened. If a glitch happens, there's going to be a technical analysis report of the nature of glitch. The first thing INEC should have done is to bring out that report. But till today, I've not seen anything of such. These same elections, and they were hurts, killings, beatings. This same election that was that lady's only offense that was gouged in the eyes. Jennifer, if my memory serves me right, because she went out to vote, but she said nothing was going to stop me, I was going to vote. These same elections where INEC reneged on its promises. And the defense now is that, oh, they didn't say we're going to. Did you see Mr. Festus Okoye? When our colleague asked him, what kind of technical glitch, he couldn't answer. I said the case is in court. We'll see when the defense opens. It opens today, isn't it? 3rd of July. We'll see when the defense opens. But you see, what we are saying is for us to move a country forward, we need the truth. We have had an elections like this in 2007. But the man that benefited, Umar Musa Yaradua, came out to say, I know the elections that brought me were fraught with irregularities. And he gave us the wage report, which is a template for how elections should be today. We shouldn't deny the fact that the elections were filled with a lot of anomaly.
Well, Nigeria's El Rufai is going with the EU's election observation, supporting the motion. The report, the final report, we still have the federal government of Nigeria saying the report is biased, is flawed, and it was born out of inadequate coverage. Well, in reply to this, said by the federal government, we have the People's Democratic Party presidential com- campaign describing the report of the European Union Elections Monitoring Group on the 2023 general elections as credible, which concluded that the last election was fraught with irregularities and failed to meet the minimum standard of credibility. Well, Mr. Frank Shaibu, Special Assistant on Public Communications to the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, said this in a statement in Abuja late on Sunday.
Well, he took a swipe at the spokesperson for President Bola Tinubu for trying to discredit the EU's report. Well, Shaibu noted that even the dead knew that the last election lacked credibility, and even the independent National Electoral Commission had been unable to explain why, nearly 5 months after the election, it had refused to upload the full result on its result viewing portal. Well, he said in his words, even primary school children who did not vote know that INEC failed woefully and that Tinubu rigged the last election. How can an election in which the full results have not been fully uploaded after nearly 5 months be described as credible by any human being?
Well, he described as nonsensical Alake's claim that the EU was a meddlesome interloper for discrediting the poll. Shaibu said it was hypocritical of the Nigerian government to receive millions of dollars from the EU as election fund and then turn around to claim that the EU has no right to make comments on the election.
Well, the Article 8 further argued that the results in states like the River State in Nigeria show that the election was far from credible. He said it was tragic that Tinubu was planning on rewarding the former governor of River State with a ministerial portfolio despite the accusations of rigging leveled against him, as well as a pending petition on charge.org signed against the former governor, which has attracted nearly 300,000 votes.
Well, Atiku's aide called on the United States and the United Kingdom to speed up the process of imposing visa bans on election riggers. He admonished them to also reveal the identities of those implicated in election rigging, especially staff of INEC and members of the ruling All Progressives Congress. According to him, the report of European Union Election Observation Team, like all other reports on the 2023 presidential election, is not different from the fact. It says our legal team, led by Chief Chris Uche San, have placed before their lordship at the presidential elections petitions court. It says we are encouraged by the presence of the manifold brave and audacious men and women of the bench in our judiciary. He also said that we know that very soon those distinguished and imperial dispensers of justice in our present day judiciary shall deliver a judgment that will be pure as the driven snow and not tainted by gravies and or bullied by coercion from characters with iniquitous power.
Meanwhile, the presidential election petition court PEPC yesterday admitted as exhibit the final report of the European Union Election Observers Mission voting the conduct and outcome of the 2023 presidential election. The February 25th election produced Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president of Niger. Also yesterday, at the tribunal, the Independent National Electoral Commission opened its defense of the presidential election without presenting any witness.
Well, INEC was supposed to open its defense, but came to the court without any witness. Its lead counsel, Abubakar Balarbe Muhammad San, told the court of his plan to call three witnesses, to counter the allegations of the Labour Party and its presidential candidate, Peter Gregory Obi. He, however, lamented that none of the witnesses was in court due to domestic reasons for him to open the defense. The EU report tendered by the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) in the election, Atiku Abubakar, was admitted as it in spite of vehement objections by Bola Tinubu, All Progressive Congress, and INEC.
While the European Union Election Observer Mission had, in the report, said the presidential election did not show credibility, fairness, and transparency in the ways and manners it was conducted by INEC. The report tendered through INEC sole witness and Director of Information Technology, Dr. Lawrence Bayode, said only 31% of the presidential election results was uploaded into INEC's result viewing portal.
Well, how about the Obedience Labour Party? Dr. Levi Zuku San, the leading counsel to the Labour Party and Peter Obi, has accused independent National Electoral Commission INEC of showing lack of preparation in defending its case at the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal PEPC.
The piece of cloth made in Ambazonia, a land brimming with history and the indomitable spirit of its people, a profound reflection of Ambazonia's collective identity and our unyielding struggle for freedom.
A full representation of who we are, what we are, the history, story, and the struggle. It's a piece of cloth you should have in your closet. It is woven into a rich tapestry of cultural heritage, traditions, and long-standing desire for self-determination. Proudly adorned with unique patterns and symbolizes unity in the Amazonian people.
The cloth's patterns and colors mirror the courage and hope that fueled their aspirations for a brighter future. Each thread represented a story of bravery, sacrifice, and the unwavering commitment to justice.
The piece of cloth made in Ambazonia became more than just a garment. It transformed into a symbol of a call for recognition, worn proudly by Ambazonians and their allies worldwide. It carried a message: we exist and we deserve to be heard. As long as the cloth adorns chests and shoulders, the spirit of Ambazonia lives on, and the hope for a free and united land remains alive.
Dr. Levi Uzuku, while speaking, made his comment on Monday shortly after the court adjourned its resumed sitting following the absence of INEC's first defense witness.
Speaking to newsmen just outside the court, the Labour Party lawyer said his camp has a strong case and are ready to move on with their case, unlike the INEC that has continued to show inconsistencies. Given the contradictions and inconsistencies and what INEC has done, I am sure they are not ready to defend the case. Well, he goes on to say, I stand to be proven wrong, but I would wish that they defend this matter so that the public will see more things of what happened to this election. He went on to say, while reiterating that Nigeria has never had an election like the February 25th presidential poll.
Well, the EU indeed has been proactive on this one and has made an applaudable move. If the EU and other international bodies will not just make open statements of criticism about elections in Africa like this and other matters concerning Africa, but take actions like what they just did to make sure they help enforce corrupt African governments to do the right thing to ensure the grassroots gets the best out of its government and nation, then that is indeed a great development to applaud.
Well, on a foreign scene, yesterday we told you that the total number of countries that will challenge the US dollar on the global stage has gotten to 41. We told you that Belarus is the first country in Eastern Europe that expressed interest to accept the new BRICS currency. Additionally, many countries in Africa remain on the sidelines and could announce their support for the BRICS currency after its launch. Well, today, researchers said that there are 8 financial sectors to be affected when BRICS finally launches its new currency.
The US economy is on a slippery slope as the debt ceiling crisis could send the markets crashing. The discretionary spending could make the markets plunge, and other countries holding the US dollar as reserves might face a recession. Additionally, talks of the BRICS alliance launching a new currency could spell trouble for the prospects of the US dollar. A handful of financial sectors in the US earn profits as the world transacts in the US dollar for goods and services. If the new BRICS currency gains trust and strengthens itself in the global market, the US dollar could be on a path of decline. Also, the US dollar will have no means to fund its deficit, making the American economy weaker on the international stage. Several financial sectors in the US could be affected, leading to a domino effect of economic crisis.
Currently, around 8 financial sectors in the US could be affected if BRICS launches their new currency in the market. The US sectors that could be impacted by the formation of the new BRICS currency are banking and finance, oil and gas, commodities, production and consumption, technology, tourism and travel, the foreign exchange market, international trade. All these sectors are closely linked with the US dollar, and any shift in the geopolitical dynamics could shake up the industries. Moreover, if banking and finance take a hit, the shot could spill over into the commodities market. Similarly, the domino effect could fall on the foreign exchange and international trade, making the US dollar difficult to balance its stitches.
Additionally, a decline in the US dollar's power could cause a reduction in production and consumption. Nonetheless, if the BRICS currency is used to settle the oil and gas trade, the US dollar could be hit. Therefore, the fate of the dollar and the American economy could be decided by how well the BRICS alliance positions its new currency. Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron has expressed his interest to attend the BRICS summit in South Africa in August. France is the only European country that is keen on being a part of the summit, signaling a paradigm shift in global dynamics. Macron released a controversial statement against the US dollar recently, calling it a great risk to hold the currency as reserves. He also urged the European Union to not be America's puppet and look for alternative ways to settle cross border transactions.
And in Spurs, Steven Gerrard has been appointed coach of Saudi side El Attifaq, having previously decided against taking up the position. The Saudis Pro League club said the former Liverpool and England midfielder last month that he would not be taking up an offer to join the team.
Well, in cricket, England's bowler Stuart Broad says he would be amazed if Australia captain Pat Cummins does not regret standing by his side's appeal for Johnny Bairstow's controversial dismissal at Lord's. Gabalisin has more.
Latest world sports. Football. Steven Gerrard appointed manager of Saudi Arabian club Al Attifaq. Steven Gerrard has been appointed coach of Saudi side Al Attifaq, having previously decided against taking up the position, the Saudi Pro League club said. The former Liverpool and England midfielder said last month that he would not be taking up an offer to join the team. However, the 43-year-old has had a change of heart and has become the latest big name to join the growing league, where legends are found. We are thrilled to announce Steven Gerrard is our new head coach, Al Attifaq wrote on Twitter on Monday. Gerrard guided the Rangers to their first Scottish Premier League title in 10 years in 2021 before leaving for Aston Villa, where he was sacked last October after winning just 2 of the opening 12 Premier League games. Gerrard's move is the latest in a number that have followed since Al Nassr signed Cristiano Ronaldo last December. Former Real Madrid striker Karim Benzema joined Al Ittihad in June. N'Golo Kante, Ruben Neves, Kalidou Koulibaly, Edward Mendy, and Marcelo Brozovic have also moved to the Saudi Arabian League. Al Attifaq, based in the city of Dammam, finished 7th in the top-tier Saudi Pro League last season. Cricket. The Ashes 23. Stuart Broad believes Pat Cummins will regret Johnny Bairstow's call. England bowler Stuart Broad says he would be amazed if Australia captain Pat Cummins does not regret standing by his side's appeal for Johnny Bairstow's controversial dismissal at Lord's. Bairstow was stumped in England's second test defeat after working out of his crease thinking the over had ended. England were angered by the incident, but Cummins said it was fair play. It was not the act that annoyed me, it was the fact that they upheld the appeal, Broad told the Daily Mail. Australia went on to win by 43 runs and led the 5-test series 2-0. Ultimately, Pat Cummins is a really great guy, and I would be amazed, once the emotion settles, if he does not sit back and think, I got that one wrong, even though his bottom line at the time was winning a test match, said Broad. Broad replaced wicketkeeper Bairstow to join Stokes at the crease and was involved in a fiery exchange with the Australian players. He told Kerry, "That's all you will be remembered for," and was later heard saying it was the worst thing I've seen on a cricket field. The red mist came over me too when I arrived at the crease to replace Johnny, and some of what I said was picked up on the stump mics, which naively, given my experience, I didn't really think about, said Broad. The 37-year-old also referenced how Australia had tried to change their image as a team following Australia batters Steve Smith and David Warner being given 12-month bans for ball tampering in 2018 after the infamous sandpaper controversy during a tour of South Africa. Broad added, I was angered by Australia's decision, particularly having heard their lines about creating a new legacy as a team, and how they have changed since the tour of South Africa in 2018. I just said to Pat on repeat, all these boos are for you, for your decision, and what a great opportunity you had to think clearly. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak also got involved in the role by accusing Australia of breaking the spirit of cricket, although the former Australian High Commissioner to the UK, Alexander Donner, said the incident had made England look like bad losers. Cricket's laws say the ball is dead when it is clear to the bowler's end umpire that the fielding side and both batters at the wicket have ceased to regard it as in play. Bairstow was stumped by Australia wicketkeeper Alex Carey, who Cummins said had seen the England player leave his crease after previous deliveries during the over. The third umpire ruled Bairstow to be out after the decision was referred up. That is the rules, said Cummins after the match. That is how I saw it. England coach Brendan McCullum said Bairstow believed the umpires had effectively called over, which would mean the ball was dead. Australia head coach Andrew McDonald said, ultimately, the officiating third umpire decided it was out and within the laws of the game, and I don't see too many issues with it, to be completely honest. And following the incident, Australia and in particular Cummins were booed relentlessly by the Lord's crowd. Television footage also appeared to show clashes between Australia's Usman Khawaja and David Warner and spectators in the long room as the tourists walked off for lunch. The Marylebone Cricket Club suspended 3 members over the altercations. The Lord's crowd are obviously huge cricket lovers, and never before have I seen a reaction from them like that. They were so angry, said Broad. At the end of that first session, the change from the long room gave to Ben Stokes to the boos they reserved for Australians walking in was stark. They knew way before that point how controversial a decision they had made. I am not saying that the MCC members shouting at players was right, but having toured Australia 4 times, I certainly do not think hostile behavior towards away teams is unusual. Gab Ellison reporting from Undaunted, ABC Amba News. The piece of cloth made in Ambazonia, a land brimming with history, courage, and the indomitable spirit of its people, a profound reflection of Ambazonia's collective identity and our unyielding struggle for freedom.
A full representation of who we are, what we are, the history, story, and the struggle. It's a piece of cloth you should have in your closet. It is woven into a rich tapestry of cultural heritage, traditions, and long-standing desire for self-determination. Proudly adorned with unique patterns and symbolizes unity in the Amazonian people.
The cloth's patterns and colors mirror the courage and hope that fueled their aspirations for a brighter future. Each thread represented a story of bravery, sacrifice, and the unwavering commitment to justice.
The piece of cloth, made in Ambazonia, became more than just a garment. It transformed into a symbol of a call for recognition, worn proudly by Ambazonians and their allies worldwide. It carried a message: we exist and we deserve to be heard. As long as the cloth adorns chests and shoulders, the spirit of Ambazonia lives on, and hope for a free and united land remains alive. The piece of cloth, made in Ambazonia, a land brimming with history, courage, and the indomitable spirit of its people, a profound reflection of Ambazonia's collective identity and our unyielding struggle for freedom.
A full representation of who we are, what we are, the history, story, and the struggle. It's a piece of cloth you should have in your closet. It is woven into a rich tapestry of cultural heritage, traditions, and long-standing desire for self-determination. Proudly adorned with unique patterns and symbolizes unity in the Amazonian people.
The cloth's patterns and colors mirror the courage and hope that fueled their aspirations for a brighter future. Each thread represented a story of bravery, sacrifice, and the unwavering commitment to justice.
The piece of cloth, made in Ambazonia, became more than just a garment. It transformed into a symbol of a call for recognition, worn proudly by Ambazonians and their allies worldwide. It carried a message: we exist and we deserve to be heard. As long as the cloth adorns chests and shoulders, the spirit of Ambazonia lives on, and the hope for a free and united land remains alive.
Good evening and welcome, fellow Amazonians, for all who are watching us at the home front on Facebook and on YouTube. As you all know, today the President of the Federal Republic of Amazonia will meet the patrons and club for a chat. I guess it's a working session, and I would need clearance to be sure if we can broadcast that on Facebook and on YouTube. But certainly, we'll have those who are watching us at the home front to benefit from it. Right after that break, we'll provide to you details of the meeting. For those who are watching on Facebook, Amba 1 is already in the Zoom meeting. You may want to join right away.
For we will fight to the last Amazonia.
The better fight, man. The better bloody fight. No liberties gained by lying down and allowing people to work on you.
When the people will rise, even if you took the whole of the French army and added to yours, you will never bring them down.
We are being killed daily for who we are, and the post-Rwanda world is watching with tight lips and tight hands. We say no. No to those favoring French Cameroon to continue recolonizing southern Cameroons. No. No to those killing us for the rebranding of a political ideology. No to those torturing our people for the gratification of their vampire instincts. No. No to those looting Amazonia for the economic privileges of colonial bounty houses in Europe. No.
For we will fight to the last Amazonia.
The better fight, man. The better bloody fight. No liberties gained by lying down and allowing people to work on you.
When the people will rise, even if you took the whole of the French army and added to yours, you will never bring them down.
We are being killed daily for who we are, and the post-Rwanda world is watching with tight lips and tight hands. We say no. No to those favoring French Cameroon to continue recolonizing southern Cameroons. No. No to those killing us for the rebranding of a political ideology. No to those torturing our people for the gratification of their vampire instincts. No. No to those looting Ambazonia for the economic privileges of colonial bounty houses in Europe. No.
Fellow Ambazonians, on the 4th of July, America, the leader of the free world, will be celebrating their own independence. But I want to use that day and occasion to celebrate something special in Ambazonia. I will be visiting the partners and club members of our revolutionary powerhouse, media house, the ABC. I will be visiting the ABC as part of my tour to our various interim government departments. I want to use that occasion to meet the pillars that have been bearing the burden of ensuring our presence and dominance in the media space at this very crucial time. I want to extend my hand of appreciation. I want to recognize some people, and I want to appreciate Ambazonians. I'm inviting you to be there. Make some time. Even if you were in the Americas, don't celebrate and forget what is important for you and for us and for future generations. Inviting you to be on Zoom on July the 4th at 8 p.m. Amba time. I will be glad to be with you. I hope you can come. Everyone should be there. It's going to be a town hall, and the guests of honor are all those who are supporting our media outfit, and I will be with you. God bless you as you come. Spread this message, invite friends and all supporters of our struggle to come. God bless you.
Yeah, once again, you've heard it for yourself. The president is inviting you to recognize your amazing efforts. And like I said, made to understand that the president is already connected. The Zoom will be stopping this broadcast on Facebook, so you can join the president and club and patrons. You also may want to understand, even if you're not a club member or a patron, you may want to understand what that is all about. I think today is your unique, extraordinary opportunity. See you after this.
Fellow Ambazonians, on the 4th of July, America, the leader of the free world.
The piece of cloth made in Ambazonia, a land brimming with history, courage, and the indomitable spirit of its people, a profound reflection of Ambazonia's collective identity and our unyielding struggle for freedom.
A full representation of who we